very good morning to all of you. In today's class, I'll be teaching you the subject of the Indian Evidence Act and correspondingly we'll be seeing what is there under the Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam. So, before beginning the class, let me tell you the topic which I'll be covering in today's class. First of all, I'll be telling you the basic information with respect to the subject, that is basic information with respect to the Indian Evidence Act of 1872, जिसको for brevity, for short, I'll be calling it as the Indian Evidence Act, and we'll be seeing correspondingly what is there under the Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam, which is the new law, that is the Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam of 2023, जिसको for brevity I'll be calling it as the BSA. You all must be aware that judicial service examination is of 3 stages. The first is the prelims or the PT. The first stage is the qualifying stage. Though PT के marks add on नहीं होंगे in your final merit, but unless you qualify it, you won't be getting the opportunity to write for the mains. And once you qualify mains, you'll get the opportunity for the interview, and if you qualify all 3 rounds, you will be qualified as a civil judge junior division अगर आप lower judiciary का exam दे रहे हो, or ADJ if you are given higher judiciary का examination. So the basic information which I'll be telling will be relevant with respect to your first stage of the examination. Then we will be covering the topic of examination of witnesses. We will be seeing under the both law, that is the old law, the Indian Evidence Act में what was the provision with respect to it. Correspondingly, we will be also seeing whether there has been any change brought या mere section number has been changed. Under the examination of witnesses, I will explain you the meaning of the term examination in chief. What is the meaning of the term examination in chief as per the Indian Evidence Act and the Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam we will be seeing. Along with it, we will be seeing what does the term cross-examination of witnesses means. Along with it, we will be also seeing that what is the re-examination of the witnesses. Then after this, we will be covering what is the order of examination. पहले हम कौन सा करते हैं? Which one is mandatory? Which one is discretionary? That we will be covering. Then we will be seeing what is the meaning of the term leading caution under the Act. Then we will be seeing कि लीडिंग क्वेश्चंस क्या ये क्रॉस एग्जामिनेशन में, री एग्जामिनेशन में एंड एग्जामिनेशन इन चीफ, ऑल 3 में इट कैन बी आस्क्ड और देयर इज सम बार अंडर इट. We will be seeing what questions are lawful that could be asked in cross examination, and then we will be seeing the meaning of the term hostile witness. Whether hostile witness के respect में testimony can be rejected as a whole, it means we will be seeing the meaning of the maxim falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus. This maxim we'll see with respect to Indian law and what is the position under the English law. Both we will be covering. So these are the subtopics which I'll be covering in this video. The Indian Evidence Act of 1872, which is the old law, now it is no more applicable and this has been replaced by the भारतीय साक्ष्य अधिनियम of 2023. So let us see under which category this legislation is falling. Law can be classified into codified law or it could be uncodified law. Whole of the law हम समझेंगे in form of flow chart because we'll be understanding the concept rather than focusing on cramming the sections, because if you analyze the latest 10 of the paper, so conceptual questions are being asked, be it PT, mains as well as in the interview. Codified law means such subject matter on which we have some law. It could be in form of a statute, it could be in form of any act, it could be in form of any legislation. यानी ऐसे सब्जेक्ट मैटर जिन्हें जानने के लिए, जिन्हें पढ़ने के लिए हमारे पास कोई कानून है. If you want to know whether the right to privacy is a fundamental right or not, we have the Constitution of India, which is the supreme law of the land, which is the grand law. भारत में सबसे ऊंचा कौन सा कानून है? The Constitution of India. If we want to know what is contract, what are the remedies if there is a breach of contract, we have the Indian Contract of 1872. If we want to know what are the condition of a Hindu marriage, we have the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955. If we want to know what is the evidence, evidence के type क्या है, who can give evidence, how the examination of witnesses is done, how the appraisal is done, we have the law that is the Indian Evidence Act, the old law, colonial era law, and the new one that is the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam. It means Indian Evidence Act, and in corresponding law that is the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam is the example of codified law. Uncodified law means such subject matter on which we have no law, no legislation, no statute, no act. Law of tort falls under this category. So from this flow chart, we got an information with respect to the Indian Evidence Act or the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam ki that is the codified law. There is further category of the law. Law ko we can put in two category. Either it could be substantive law or it could be procedural law. तो समझते हैं meaning of substantive law and procedural law. Substantive law means such law which tells the rights and duties of the parties. ऐसे law जो हमें parties की rights and duties बताते हैं, that fall under the substantive law. The Constitution of India, the Indian Penal Code, that is now the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanghita, the Personal Law, Transfer of Property Act, Indian Contract Act, all falls under the substantive law के category में. Procedural law tell us the procedure. जो rights और duty substantive law में बताई गई हैं, उन्हें implement कैसे करना है? How to implement those rights and duties that has been given under the procedural law, Indian Evidence Act, in correspondingly Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam, Civil Procedure Code of 1908, the Criminal Procedure Code of 1973, and in correspondingly Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Adhiniyam are the examples of procedural law. So from this flow chart, we gather an information that Indian Evidence Act is the procedural law. Now let us see the enactment year for both of the legislation. If we see for Indian Evidence Act, it is 1872. Enactment year का मतलब किस साल वो कानून बनाया गया है. If we see for भारतीय साक्ष्य अधिनियम, it is 2023. एक साल में बहुत सारे कानून बनाए जाते हैं. So we used to give act number. In many legislation, instead of writing the full name of legislation, they used to write Act number 1 of 1872. If they write Act number 1, iska matlab they are talking about Indian Evidence Act because the Act number is 1. If they talk about Act number 47 of 2023, then they are talking about the Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam because the Act number is 47 of 2023. Now let us see the commencement date. ये जरूरी नहीं है कि जिस साल का कानून है उस साल के पहले दिन से ही that is made applicable. That is called as the commencement date or the enforcement date. It all depends on the intention of the legislature कि किस दिन से कानून लागू है. There is two terms. Either it could be prospective or it could be retrospective. Prospective का मतलब होता है from future date. Indian Evidence Act has given prospective effect. Whereas if we talk about the Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Marriage Act of 2019, जिसने ट्रिपल तलाक को cognizable offense बनाया था, that has been given retrospective effect, meaning thereby from back date it was made applicable. So if we talk about Indian Evidence Act, commencement date is 1st September 1872. For Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam, it is 1st July 2024. Now let us see the assent date. Assent date का मतलब you all must be aware कि एक bill act बनता है with the assent. If it is the central legislation with the assent of the president, अगर वो state का कोई कानून है with the assent of the governor. So Indian Evidence Act got the assent on 15th March 1872. For Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam, it is 25th December of 2023. If you see right hand side corner of your Bear Act, जहां से section शुरू होते हैं, there the assent date is generally provided. Now let us see the extent. Extent का मतलब है up till what territory the particular legislation is applicable. If we talk about the Indian Evidence Act, it is applicable to the whole of India as based on the rule one nation, one rule. After the abrogation of Article 370 of the Constitution of India, with the enactment of Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act of 2019, which has bifurcated the state of Jammu Kashmir into the two union territory, that is the Union Territory of Ladakh and the Union Territory of J&K. If you see Section 95, subsection 1 of the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act of 2019, which is applicable from 31st October 2019, so there it is written कि whatever central laws which are mentioned in Table 1, 5th schedule, they all will be applicable to the Union Territory of J&K and the Union Territory of Ladakh. Meaning thereby, the term, पहले क्या कानून था prior to this? If you see serial number 44, so there the words except the state of Jammu and Kashmir, now they stands omitted from section 1 of the Indian Evidence Act. So Indian Evidence Act का extent है to the whole of India. If we see the position under the new law, that is the Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam, so there you will be finding कि extent has been omitted. Extent को हटा दिया गया है from section 1. The reason behind omitting the extent is that it might affect the admissibility of the such evidence which are digitally generated outside India. So it might have affect the admissibility of such digitally generated evidence जो कि इंडिया के बाहर जनरेट हुए हैं, इसलिए willingly the extent का provision has been omitted from section 1 of the Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam. If we talk about total number of sections under the Indian Evidence Act, it is just 167 sections, whereas under the Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam, it is 170. If we talk about total number of chapters, तो Indian Evidence Act में there are 11 chapters as a whole. Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam में there are 12 chapters. If we talk about total number of part, so under Indian Evidence Act there are 3 parts, whereas for Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam there are 4 parts. If we see the part under the Indian Evidence Act, the first part talk about the relevancy of fact, and this relevancy of fact is from section 1 till 55. Second part is of on proof, which is from section 56 till section 100, and the third part is production and effect of evidence, which is from section 101 till 167. So this was the part of Indian Evidence Act. If we see under the Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam, so the first part is preliminary, and in first part there are merely 2 sections, section 1 and section 2 under part 1. Part 2 contains about relevancy of fact, which is from section 3 till 50. The third part contains on proof, which is from 51 till section 103, and the last one is the production and effect of evidence from section 104 to section 170. So this was with respect to the part. So we have seen कि chapter number has been enhanced, part has been enhanced, and section 1 say knowingly they have omitted the extent. Earlier under the Indian Evidence Act it was short title, extent and commencement, whereas if you see under the Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam, short title is there, but instead of extent they have provided the application. So one subsection 1 under the Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam contains the short title, one subsection 2 talks about the applicability, and one subsection 3 talks about the commencement. Applicability का मतलब होता है कि Indian Evidence Act or the Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam is applicable on what thing? So now let us see the applicability of both the legislation. If we talk about the Indian Evidence Act, then that is applicable on judicial proceedings. Judicial proceedings को समझने के लिए we need to go to CRPC, because there the term is defined under section 2I of the CRPC. Correspondingly, we have under section 21M of the BNSS, that is the Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita में. Judicial proceedings includes the proceeding in the course of which evidence is or may be legally taken on oath. Includes words लिखा है, इसका मतलब this definition is not complete in itself. There is a scope of adding on. Adding on हो सकता है through amendment or through the case law. ऐसी proceeding जहां पर evidence oath पे लिए जाते हैं या लिए जाएंगे, that is termed as the judicial proceeding, and that will applicable to court martial also. But if the court martial is there under the Army Act, under the Air Force Act, under the Naval Discipline Act, under the Indian Navy Discipline Act of 1934, then there the Indian Evidence Act of 1872 is not applicable. It means Indian Evidence Act was made applicable to native court martial laws. In सब पे it was not made applicable. Whereas if you see section 1 subsection 2 of the Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam, so there they provides that it is applicable to the judicial proceedings. Judicial proceedings में that is applicable as well as to the court martials. It means they have omitted these terms. These have been omitted. The court martial under Army Act, Air Force Act, Naval Discipline Act, Indian Navy Discipline Act, this they have omitted from the applicability. Indian Evidence Act as well as the Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam both are not applicable to affidavit. Affidavit पे ना Indian Evidence Act हमारा लगता था, ना ही the new act Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam is applicable. Why? Because in affidavit one certify the information as to the basis of his own knowledge which he believes to be true. Same goes for arbitration. Neither Indian Evidence Act nor the Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam is applicable. Why? क्योंकि arbitration में we go for speedy justice. Purpose of arbitration is to avoid the complicated procedure of a regular trial. तो अगर हम एविडेंस एक्ट या भारतीय साक्ष्य अधिनियम को आर्बिट्रेशन पे अप्लाई करेंगे, द पर्पस of speedy justice will be defeated. So on arbitration as well as affidavit, the Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam as well as the Indian Evidence Act is no more applicable. It is not applicable to these things. For disciplinary inquiry, for contempt proceeding also, ना ही भारतीय साक्ष्य अधिनियम लगेगा उस पे और ना ही हमारा इंडियन एविडेंस एक्ट वाज मेड एप्लीकेबल. So this was the basic information. Now let us see what is the meaning of the term examination of witnesses. किस ऑर्डर में हम witnesses को एग्जामिन करेंगे और प्रोड्यूस करेंगे, that is given under the chapter 10. If we see chapter 10 of the Indian Evidence Act from section 135 to section 166, it contains the provision for examination of witnesses. भारतीय साक्ष्य अधिनियम में भी चैप्टर 10 ही है, but from section 140 to section 168, it contains the provision for examination of witnesses. किस ऑर्डर में हम विटनेस को प्रोड्यूस करेंगे और एग्जामिन करेंगे, दैट इज गिवन अंडर सेक्शन 135 of Indian Evidence Act, and correspondingly we have under section 140 of the Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam. It says that the law and the practice with respect to the civil and the criminal procedure that will determine कि हम कैसे करेंगे विटनेस का एग्जामिनेशन, कौन सा विटनेस कब प्रोड्यूस किया जाएगा, दैट विल बी डिटरमाइंड बाय द लॉ with respect to the civil and criminal procedure and the practice with respect to it. If there is no law, then the discretion of court will be taken into account to determine what will be the order and the production of witnesses. If we want to see examination of witnesses का मतलब क्या है, तो for that we have to see section 137 of the Indian Evidence Act, and correspondingly that is provided under section 142 of the Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam में. Under the examination of witnesses, we have three terms. One is examination in chief, another is cross examination, and the last is re-examination. All are given under 137 of the Indian Evidence Act, and correspondingly it is given under 142 of the Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam. समझते हैं these terms? Examination in chief means examination of witness by the party who has called him. यानी जिस पार्टी ने विटनेस को बुलाया है, अगर वो एग्जामिनेशन करेगा, that will be called as the examination in chief. Cross examination means the examination of witness by the adverse party. Adverse party जो examination करता है, that will be called as the cross examination. Re-examination is done by the party calling the witness but subsequent to cross examination. Re-examination भी वही पार्टी करेगा जिसने उसे बुलाया है. The party calling witness will re-examine that particular witness but subsequent to cross-examination, after cross-examination is done. So let us see इनका purpose क्या है. Why we put a witness for examination in chief, cross-examination and re-examination. Examination in chief में the witness is made to speak in the favor of the party who has called the witness. Let us understand with the help of example. Suppose A have filed a suit against B and A had called witness number 1. So if the examination of witness number 1 is done by A, that is called as examination in chief. If examination is done by B, then that is called as cross-examination. If after cross-examination again examination will be done by A, then that will be termed as the re-examination. Examination in chief में the witness is made to speak in favor of A. In cross-examination, the purpose is to discredit the witness, and in re-examination, again the party tries to re-establish the trustworthiness of the witness. Now let us see what is the order of the examination and which one is compulsory and which one is discretionary. सबसे पहले we go for examination in chief, that is provided under section 138 of the Indian Evidence Act and correspondingly that is given under 143 of the Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam. तो सबसे पहले we will be doing examination in chief, then comes the turn of cross examination, then comes the turn of the re-examination. तो first of all examination in chief होगा, then cross examination, then re-examination. Examination in chief is mandatory, यानी ये compulsory है to be done. Whereas if we see about the cross examination and re-examination, they are discretionary. It all depends on the discretion of the party to go for cross and re-examination. तो अगर adverse party चाहेगी तो cross examine करेगी. If the party calling witness after the cross examination desire, then that party will re-examine the witness. Whereas examination in chief is mandatory. Examination in chief as well as cross examination both relates to relevant fact. दोनों relevant fact से relate करता है. Now the question arises, what is relevant fact? A fact is said to be relevant. Suppose this is F1 a fact. इस fact को relevant हम तब बोलेंगे when that fact is connected with some other fact as per the provision given under chapter 2 of Indian Evidence Act or the chapter 2 of the Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam. If we see provision under Indian Evidence Act, to find 5 till 55 talks about the connection, the relevancy of fact, कि कैसे एक फैक्ट दूसरे का मोटिव है, प्रिपरेशन है, टेस्ट आइडेंटिफिकेशन परेड है, कॉज है, कंडक्ट है, and so on. And same is given from section 3 till 50 of the Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam. So examination in chief and cross examination, they must relate to relevant fact. Meaning thereby, अगर party question पूछेगी तो that must be on the relevant fact. Whereas if we see with respect to court को अगर क्वेश्चन पूछना होगा विटनेस को, then it can be even on the irrelevant fact. From where I am telling this? From section 165 of the Indian Evidence Act and the correspondingly which is given under 168 of the Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam. कि अगर जज के the court is asking question to a witness, then it could be even on irrelevant fact in order to discover the truth. Whereas party is only bound to ask question on relevant fact. In re-examination, what we do, we explain the matter what has been asked in the cross-examination. But cross-examination need not to be confined to the fact which the witness has been testified in examination in chief. I'll make you understand this through a flow chart, then it will be more clear. मैंने अभी क्या बोला कि क्रॉस एग्जामिनेशन में केवल हम उन्हीं फैक्ट्स पे विटनेस को टेस्टिफाई नहीं करेंगे जो उसने की उससे किया गया था in examination in chief. It could be on some other fact also. Re-examination में what we do, we provide the explanation of the fact which the witness has been testified in cross-examination, and if any new matter is to be raised, अगर कोई नया मैटर रेज करना होता है in re-examination, then for that court permission is required. And for that new matter which has been raised with the court permission in re-examination, that के लिए again the adverse party will get the right to cross-examination. Adverse party को cross-examination मिल जाएगा on that new matter only. Now let us understand all this through a flow chart. Suppose this is for examination in chief and the 4 questions has been asked to a witness by the party calling the witness, means 4 facts pe he has been testified. Then in cross examination, it need not to be confined to only these 4. It could be more than that. So cross examination mein adverse party can testify on some other fact. He need not to be confined on the fact which he has been testified in the examination in chief. Now, let us see what is there in re-examination. In re-examination, there will be explanation of the matter, what has been there in cross-examination. तो इन सब का explanation तो होगा ही होगा. Suppose a new matter want to be raised by the party who has called the witness. Let it be 8, 9, 10. These are the new facts, which new matter, जिस पे party want to put question to the witness. Then for that, court permission is required. And on this new matter, that is on 8, 9, 10, again the adverse party will get the right to cross examination. But you need to keep in mind कि जो cross examination की right adverse party को यहाँ पे मिलेगी only with respect to the new matter which has been raised, not with respect to the all. So we have seen कि examination in chief is done by the party who has called the witness. Examination in chief mandatory होता है. Cross examination is done by the adverse party, that is discretionary. It depends on the discretion of the adverse party. Re-examination is done after the cross-examination is done by the party who has called the witness subsequent to cross-examination. In examination in chief as well as in cross-examination, we used to testify the witness on relevant fact. लेकिन cross-examination में he need not to be confined to the fact which he has testified in examination in chief. In re-examination, there is explanation of matter what has been there in the cross-examination, and if a new matter is to be raised, then for that court ka permission is required, and for that new matter which has been raised with the permission of court, again the adverse party will get the right to cross-examine. This all are mentioned in the provision of section 138, which provides for order of examination, which we have in corresponding section under 143 of the Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam. Now let us see what questions are lawful to be asked in cross-examination. That is provided under section 146 of the Indian Evidence Act, and correspondingly that is provided under 149 of the Bharatiya Saksh Adhiniyam mein, that in cross-examination We can ask such question which test the veracity of the witness. Veracity मतलब trustworthiness. We can ask such question to discover who he is and what is his position in his life. His position is in his life, as well as we can ask such question which can shake his credit by injuring his character. So, such questions are lawful which can be asked in cross-examination. If suppose prosecution is done under section 376 or 376A, B, AB or D, DA, DB or E या इनका attempt and the question of consent is an issue, then in that case evidence will not be given कि victim is of general immoral character or of her previous sexual experiences. This has been provided under the proviso to the section which has been amended by 2013 amendment which has been done after the Nirbhaya case and 2018 amendment. So, if the prosecution is done under the following sections, then where the question of consent is an issue, then there questions cannot be asked with respect to the previous sexual experience or with respect to the general immoral character. Suppose if a sex worker is there and if she has been raped, so in cross-examination it could not be asked to her that she is of general immoral character. That is not permissible. Now let us see what is the meaning of the term leading question. Leading question का मतलब होता है such question which contain the answer which a person putting the question is expected to receive. यानी ऐसे question जिसमें answer खुद ब खुद हो, either expressly or impliedly, and the person putting question which he expect to receive from the person to whom the question has been put. Let us understand with the help of an example. If I say, were you not living in Mukherjee Nagar for last 10 years? This is an example of leading question. क्योंकि मैंने आपसे पूछ भी लिया कि क्या आप मुखर्जी नगर में कितने सालों से रह रहे हो, and answer also simultaneously I am giving कि for 10 years. So such kind of questions are called as the leading question which is given under section 141 of the Indian Evidence Act and correspondingly it is given under 146 subsection 1 of the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam. Now let us see leading questions को क्या हम पूछ सकते हैं examination in chief में, cross में, what about in re. If we see with respect to cross examination, leading question can be asked. That is given under section 143 of the Indian Evidence Act and same is given under section 146 का subsection 4 of the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam में. It means there is no bar to put leading questions in cross examination. Now let us see with respect to the examination in chief and re-examination. Leading question can be asked only with the permission of the court. कोर्ट की परमिशन से ही लीडिंग क्वेश्चन पूछे जा सकते हैं इन एग्जामिनेशन इन चीफ एज वेल एज इन re-examination and that to be when they are not objected by the adverse party. कोर्ट की परमिशन से पूछे जाएंगे, साथ ही साथ there must not be any objection raised by the adverse party and moreover court will allow the questions which are introductory or which are undisputed or which are sufficiently proved. So, this law has been enshrined under section 142 of the Indian Evidence Act and same we have under 146 ka subsection 2 and 3 of the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam. So cross examination में directly there is no bar, it could be asked, that leading question. In examination in chief as well as in re-examination, it could be asked with the permission of the court, provided that has not been objected by the adverse party, and that to be such questions must either be introductory, undisputed or sufficiently proved. So we have seen with respect to the leading question. Now there is one term, hostile witness. Hostile witness matlab such witness who did not favor the party who has called him. जिस पार्टी ने जिस विटनेस को बुलाया है वो उसी को फेवर नहीं कर रहा है. As well as the person who give the evidence against the party, that will be called as the hostile witness, provided that is done deliberately. If a witness is not supporting his party who has called him or giving the evidence against him, that will be called as the hostile witness, which is provided under section 154 of the Indian Evidence Act, and correspondingly that is given under 158 of the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam. Now let us see what question can be asked to a hostile witness. Hostile witness say the party who has called that witness can ask such question which could be asked in cross examination. जो क्वेश्चन उससे क्रॉस एग्जामिनेशन में पूछे जाएंगे, that could be asked by the party provided that has been asked with court permission. कोर्ट की परमिशन से पूछे जाएंगे. Why the party is putting such question which he could be asked in cross examination? In order to discredit the witness, ताकि आगे चल के वो डिफेंस विटनेस ना बन पाए, because he is not favoring the party who has called him. Now the question arises कि क्या हम जो भी एविडेंस दिया है हॉस्टाइल विटनेस से, क्या हम पूरा रिजेक्ट कर दें और we can accept the path which is severable. So for that we have one maxim, falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus. Maxim matlab it is just like quotation. It is in Latin language. Falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus का मतलब होता है if a statement is false in respect of one thing, then whole of the statement is taken as wrong. यानी suppose if this is a statement, इसका कोई एक part false है, then according to this maxim, whole of the statement will be taken as false. Now let us see whether this maxim is applicable in India. What about in the English law? In England, this maxim is well applicable. It means hostile witness के पूरे statement को हम reject कर देंगे. But that is not the case in India. In India, this maxim is not applicable. If suppose this is the statement and one of the part of the statement is false and rest part which are not false, if that are severable, then party can rely on that part. यानी वो part जो गलत नहीं है, जो severable है from that false part, on that party could very easily rely. So this was with respect to the hostile witness. Now the last thing which is there, what is the scope of the examination in chief, cross and re? Examination in chief का scope है to prove the fact, because the evidence is all about, that is the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam is all about the proving and disproving the fact. So examination in chief में the scope is to prove the fact. If we talk about cross examination, it is to discredit the witness, because यहाँ पर scope बहुत widen है. As we have seen कि witness need not to be confined to the fact which he has testified in examination in chief, तो scope बहुत wide है, as the question is there with respect to the credibility of witness. If we see in re-examination, so it provides the clarity of the doubts which has been raised in cross-examination. So in this video, we have seen the basic information with respect to the act, and then we have seen examination of witnesses. Hope you have understood. Thank you.